Hey guys, Jacqueline Fernandez here at the Alert Center. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. We are talking about investment scams. They are locally on the rise, not a good thing. Now, specifically under that investment scam umbrella, if you will, two scams in particular: cryptocurrency scams and romance scams. So we've been getting a bunch of phone calls. The Better Business Bureau now joining us, Tristan Gomes to be exact, to discuss a little bit more about these scams and why people are still falling victim to these scams. Tristan, we often feel like a broken record when we discuss these different scams, when we first alert our audience to different scams. Why are people still seemingly falling victim?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the number one issue is that these scammers continue to build trust, right? These are kind of long-term scams, especially when it comes to investments. So someone will reach out and say that they're a well-known financial advisor. They're someone that has worked in finances for a long time and they can give you a guaranteed return. The issue with that is if anyone says it's a guaranteed return, it's probably a scam because there's no such thing as a guaranteed return. If there was, we'd all be doing it, right? And so what these people try to do is they continuously reach out. They make it seem like they're a friend, someone you can talk to. They'll do that as a financial advisor or someone that's in finance that will create a romantic relationship or become someone that you feel comfortable talking to. And then over time, they'll say, oh, you should invest in this a little bit. And they'll just keep ramping it up, and letting people know that they're gains. They're making a whole bunch of gains. They'll show them a false report. And so people will continue to fall for it, believing that their money is being well invested.
Sure, and specifically under that investment umbrella, as I spoke of earlier, when we talk about cryptocurrency scams in particular, let's talk about that. So cryptocurrency in and of itself is what exactly?
Yeah, so it's just an online, not a tangible currency. And so the thing with that is it's continued to rise. The government's getting into it. There's so much more that people continue to build off of it, and it can seem as if it's a reasonable investment. It continues to grow. We're going to make more money over time, but it's an easy way for scammers to reach out to people and say, "Oh, you should stop investing your money here. Let's get into cryptocurrency. You'll get guaranteed returns, and you'll get exactly what you're looking for." And so it's kind of just a new thing, and people will reach out to typically people older than 55. Over 25% of cryptocurrency scams happen to people that are over 55. So the will reach out and say, "Oh, your account's frozen. Let's switch that to cryptocurrency. You'll get guaranteed returns. I'll make sure of it. I'll send you reports." And so I think it's just something that's new, that it isn't as regulated. So scammers are able to kind of work around the edges and find new ways to scam.
And then romance fraud. When we talk about this, I mean, this idea just kind of hurts my heart. You talk a lot about trust and finding someone that you trust. And then, of course, when you build that trust with somebody and then you get into the romance part of it all, you're willing to help somebody regardless of the cost, right? Both literally and metaphorically speaking. But when it comes to the literal cost, these scammers are just taking advantage of people left and right. And first they may ask for a small dollar amount, and then that dollar amount just increases from there. Can you elaborate on that for us?
Yeah. So to start, a lot of people, they'll reach out via social media. Over 60% starts on social media, and they'll let them know, like, maybe give them a compliment or let them know what their job is or something. And then they just continue to talk. Maybe they'll get a phone number and they'll just be chatting back and forth, and they'll make it seem like they're just like a nice person. They have the best interest for you. Here, you'll say all the things that they want to hear. Um, And so over time, you continue to build a relationship with this person that you really don't know too well. But it can turn into a romance scam where you think like, oh, like this is someone I really care about. They've made me feel good about myself. So I'm gonna, they say they need $1,000. Here's $1,000. I'll invest this, or they need help with this project. So I'll send them money for that. Just because you think this is a romance thing. This is someone who I care about. They care about me. And over time, like you said, they'll just continue to say, oh, I need this much money. I need this much money. So one recommendation we have is just make sure to set up a FaceTime call, set up a time where you can hop on a Zoom or something to see if they are a real person, see the person they actually are. And a lot of times if they deny that, then it's most likely a scam.
Yeah, that's where I was headed, Tristan. Thank you so much. So what can we do to kind of fight back, right? What can the consumer do to fight back?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the number one thing is ask questions. The only dumb questions are the ones that you don't ask. So make sure to ask questions and don't be afraid to. I mean, it might not be comfortable, but be like, hey, like, can we set up a FaceTime call? Can we talk about this? How do I know that you're really real? Right. And because if a real person gets asked if they're real, they'll find a way to prove it to you. They'll prove, like, yes, I'm actually here for your best interest. Um, and so I think just making sure that we ask the questions and don't do anything that says there's guaranteed returns. Guaranteed returns aren't real. Otherwise, we'd all be doing it, like I said. And then just don't do anything just out of urgency, like we talked about before. Make sure to take your time, take a deep breath, and go through it in your mind before you make a decision. Thank you.
Okay, so if you're just joining us here at the Alert Center, we were just chatting with Tristan, or first alerting you to some investment scam warnings. Investment scams in our area are on the rise, unfortunately, and underneath that umbrella, we were talking specifically about cryptocurrency scams. So these too good to be true investment scams. So that is one of them that's on the rise. And then unfortunately, this one kind of pulls on my heartstrings, but those romance scams too, right? You find somebody that you think you can trust, and then before you know it, you're shelling out all this money trying to help this other person on the other end of the line. So Tristan was nice enough to give us some tips today, and we'll be sharing more of those tips with you for our broadcast at 4:30 this afternoon, so make sure you stay tuned for that. In the meantime, do want to discuss a little bit of what we can expect weather-wise. So here's a live look from our First National camera. Now you can see that kind of smoke in the distance. I was told that perhaps this is a grass fire. Everything looks to be under control, so that's good news there. But a good shot of the Missouri River for you, and a smoky kind of haze over the skyline there, and that likely due to that grass fire. But Senior Chief Meteorologist Rusty Lord tells us today mostly sunny to partly cloudy and breezy out there with a high of 60 degrees. The good news tonight, partly cloudy, a 20% chance of a few sprinkles out there with a low of 42. So it's getting warmer, music to my ears, as I like to say. Now, as we take a look into Wednesday, what can we expect? Here's a look from our Children's Nebraska cams. You can see traffic flowing smoothly out there, not too busy at 12:08. Wednesday, partly cloudy and breezy, a 20% chance of a spotty thunder shower, a high of 72. Looking forward to that. If you're planning on being sick, Wednesday's your day, right? Gorgeous out there. Then do as I say, not as I do, right? Thursday, let's take a look here. This is from 144th and Dodge. A closer look at traffic, if you will. Let's take a look. Yeah, not bad out there at all. Thursday, partly cloudy and windy, a 30% chance of a few spotty showers out there, a high of 65. So the degree does dip a bit from Wednesday into Thursday, but still not awful. So we'll take what we can get. In the interim, just want to say thank you so much for joining us at the Alert Center. And remember, you can get all the latest news that we're covering. Our digital desk is working around the clock to bring you the latest and greatest at firstalert6.com. Let me refresh this grid for you. And I will leave this as a web extra, so feel free to head here for all our top stories that we're working on right now, and we'll be sure to bring you those at our 3 p.m. with our Dave Zavolinsky. Until then, enjoy the day today. Mostly sunny to partly cloudy out there. Not too horrible, so get in a walk if you can this afternoon. Until 3 o'clock, have a wonderful day.